All the Who's down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, we don't quite know the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right, it could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all was that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's.
And they're hanging their stockings.
He snarled with a sneer.
Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. I must find some way to stop Christmas from
For
coming.
tomorrow he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early and rush for their toys. Oh, the noise.
And they'll feast, and they feast, and they feast. And they do something I like least of all.
All the Who's, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing, and they'd stand hand in hand and start singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. The more the Grinch thought,
I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming, but how?
Then he got an idea. A wonderful idea.
Okay.
Terrible, awful, wonderful
This could
idea.
work. With this hat and this coat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a
The
reindeer.
Grinch looked around, but since reindeer were scarce, there were none to be found.
If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead.
Then he slithered and slunk with a smile unpleasant around the whole room and took every present. Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who had gotten out of bed for a cold cup of water. Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? It was like $100.
Well, you see,
The Grinch thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick.
There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. I'll bring it to my workshop, I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here.
His fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head. He got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. It was dawn, all the Who's still snooze, when he packed up his sled. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it.
pooh-pooh to the Who's.
He was grinchiously humming.
They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two, then all the Who's down in Whoville will cry boo-hoo. That's a noise I simply must hear.
And he did hear sound rising over the snow, but the sound wasn't sad. He stared down at Whoville. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came just the same. The Grinch stood puzzling in the ice-cold snow.
It came without ribbons, buttons, or bows.
Then the Grinch thought something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. What happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes that day. The second his heart didn't feel so bad, he rode with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back their toys. And he himself, the Grinch, ate with the Who's at the feast.